Everyone, I'd like to introduce Amanda and Roland talking about the ACCE Learning Network after their photo op.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you, everyone. It's a very impressive crowd. We're overwhelmed but thrilled to be here in the same space where the keynotes have presented.
He's still here.
Oh, yes. Can I have a show of hands of people who have seen or been part of our Google Hangouts for the ACCELN?
Oh, they're the fans.
Fabulous. Okay. You can be our experts in the presentation today. So just a bit of a background. Just over 2 years ago, maybe 2 years, 3 months ago, I sent Roland a tweet when the 2012 conference was being planned, and I noticed there was an unconference section, and I said to him, hey, want to co-host an unconference at ACEC with me? And from then, it's just grown into this
I must admit,
thing.
I said yes, and then I went and Googled unconference. It was good fun.
And so what has evolved from there, we ended up making, having a few Hangouts. Roland was like, oh, there's this new technology called Google Hangouts. It's even more awesome than Skype. You can have lots of people in there at once and you can have a conversation. How about we ask our friends to help plan it? And so we had a few more random Hangouts. We were talking about what would an unconference at ACEC 2012 look like and how could we structure, how could we plan that? From there, we had a few really interesting guests join us, including Cheryl Nussbaum Beach from Powerful Learning Practice. And she challenged us to think about how we could extend the learning and lead to action and develop a sense of community. After that point, we decided to promo the unconference aspect of the ACEC 2012, we would record our Hangouts live to YouTube, and we would also bring in guests to talk about different things. And one of them was Marg Lloyd talking about the digital technology syllabus, and we had really interesting discussions, recorded it to YouTube, and people wanted to actually come back and watch and digest that information, and it was actually featured at the Leadership Forum, and someone from ACARA contacted us and was like, hey, that was a really good discussion, and we're like, wow, that's pretty awesome. After ACC 2012, we thought, great, we can have our Monday nights back, but Tony Brandenburg, past president of ACCE, encouraged us to continue and to become the ACCE Learning Network, which he was really supportive of us continuing our sessions each Monday night via Google Hangouts recorded to YouTube to continue the conversation.
Picking up the Google Hangout wasn't just about experimenting with technology. We needed a place where we could collaborate interstate. We had people in Perth, Melbourne, Brisbane, and other places too, and even some international guests in our early planning. We needed a place where we could actually collaborate, contribute, and construct. We had those tools with Google Docs to do stuff. We could work asynchronously, but there were times we just needed to get our head into the space of what was an unconference. And to do that, we need to bring people who'd been to some unconferences before and to reflect and for us to add to that narrative. It allowed it to do it in a way that wasn't any more challenging than opening up a browser and adding the plugin and firing it up. And it allowed us also to explore some of that collaboration that we could do. For me, it was the same kind of oxygen that you get when you're opening up a Google Doc, but allowing us to do video conferencing, collaborating, and this type of group work, teamwork software, I was really excited about. Interesting enough, the DLTV, which is the group I'm a part of now, we're making big use of this now for the way that we're professionally organising ourselves and coordinating it. And we're taking some cues from the ACCE body, which has been doing this for a while too. The Hangouts, there is a particular workflow that we had to get our head around. It looks straightforward here. It wasn't as intuitive when we started. I guess we kind of fell into some of this stuff, and we had learned from our mistakes. The workflow is that we actually start with a planning spreadsheet, and this allows us to actually coordinate the different speakers that we might have. We have some show notes that actually articulate the script, a little bit like a running sheet for each particular show. We have some support documentation that orientate new guests and speakers when they come in, so they feel comfortable about how to adjust the room, the lighting, send the dog out of the room or the family away on a picnic.
Turn the TV off.
Or turn the TV off, that's right. We've had our fair share of cats and dogs in airports and cars and strange noises that nobody can quite determine. There's nothing worse than having 12 people all looking to see what the problem is who aren't in your bedroom while you're fussing around to look at the strange humming noise. We have also an inner circle, and that's a little play on the Ben Stiller clip from the Meet the Fockers, where you have a description as to the kind of circles that define the people that you're interacting and engaging with. And we have a Google event notification that sends out alerts to what's actually happening. When people log in, we have a document that gives us a script for supporting the presenters and explaining the different tools that they're going to use. And we also do a countdown for the actual broadcast. Sometimes you might be delayed because technical reasons, the presenter isn't quite ready, or we've got some issues, and we communicate that using the broadcast medium, a back channel. There are some issues with coping with the multitask overload. We were talking about last night, we really think 4 people could run the show a lot better than just 2. And it's not just on the front of house type thing. Often when one of us is talking, the other one's busy typing and clicking and dragging, and we felt that we could almost have a show producer and a social media manager, and that gets us around the issue of sometimes being overloaded. And we have a reflection and debrief on that. Is it worth showing them some of those documents and bits and pieces, or
yeah, maybe
have you got them open? Or
I don't have one open now. Maybe we can jump to them later.
Jump to it later.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
That's all right. This is Roland's way of diagrammatically representing the chaos and / magic that happens when we actually present our events. So the orangey kind of stuff, which you can't really tell on that screen because of the
it looks orange on
colour
this screen.
contrast. It's beautiful here. So the top right ingredients is really what happens during the show. So that's when we invite all of the participants who are going to be part of the panel to join a Hangout link. We add a embedded code to our Wikispaces homepage that we keep getting told we should use something better, but when we get the time, we'll get to that. We also do a lot of tweeting and promotion to draw people in to watch the Hangout just before we go live. And then while we're actually conducting the Hangout, so we're chairing conversations, we're asking questions, we're going through introductions and trying to be provocative. We're also using about 3 different social media tools to manage a back channel. So sometimes we appear a little bit distracted and we'll ask a question that comes from somewhere else to add to the conversation. So we're engaging our audience just beyond those that are in the room. And then afterwards is when we click stop broadcast, we'll take a big sigh of relief, and then we have a fabulous discussion that goes on for about another hour. And then it takes about 2 or 3 hours for my brain to unwind so I can sleep.
They are the best.
Enough about
those post-office parties are the best. I had an epiphany last night, Amanda.
Oh dear.
Okay. And I decided
great.
I've got another way of representing this model, and it's actually a double-stranded helix, because I think what's missing here is that people think that all we do is just prepare, show, prepare, show. But in fact, I want you to sort of take this visualization, because we haven't quite got the virtual reality headset goggles that they promised us at the conference here, but it'd be a double-stranded helix that would be coming out and reaching towards you, because as well as actually preparing for a show, we're running a show, and when we're running a show, we're preparing for a show. So you get this constant cycle that's actually happening simultaneously, that we're debugging a show, we're running a show, and preparing for it. And it's all happening at the same time, and I've got to be aware, and we came up quite early in the piece with a series of show names and numbers to keep track of it. We're up to Series 4 at the moment, episode 20-something, which we'll save so we can use this video clip later. But it means that we can keep track of the different shows and sequences.
Yeah, and I can't remember how long it was ago, but we've done over 100 shows in that time. Last year we had 39 or 40 episodes or something like that as well. So
So there's no cake or anything, but we
No.
just have to make do with that. Yeah.
Next time, cake. Yeah. So the bluey-greeny part of this diagram, which is inferior to a double helix model that I've just heard about, sounds interesting.
I'll work on it.
Just goes through some of the outside of hangout time kind of stuff that we do. So it's an ongoing, life-absorbing adventure, more than just a half an hour to an hour or so kind of presentation.
It just, if you look at a show like 60 Minutes or a television production, like maybe the ABC Splash Crew and the way that they might prepare a show, what's really important is that they're going to actually research something, they'll prepare for it, they'll shoot it, and then they'll broadcast it.
And edit it.
Yeah. But they'll be doing an iterative cycle where they're cycling continuously and having several productions queued up and then screening. And that's kind of what we're doing. And it's a headspace that we had to get into, and I'd like to encourage you to think about in the way that students might be working, in the way that they iterate and work for a project, and realising that management is important and it needs to think about the connections and keeping in touch with people.
We could maybe make a project management model of our events and link that to the digital technology syllabus, as an example. So this is a more conceptual diagram that's looking at the overlaps. We're into diagrams today, aren't we, Roland? And
I like it. I like the circles.
And you'll see that there's kind of overlapping groups of people and technologies, and the Hangouts kind of sit in the middle of that. So as well as us as the Hangout co-host, we have our inner circle, we have the people who watch, but we also have our homepage on Wikispaces where we actually archive and curate and keep a list of all of the videos that we've recorded. And if you wanted to go to that, it's ACCELN.wikispaces.com, and I say that at least 2 or 3 times in every single broadcast, so I'm getting good at it. But we also use a mashup of other technologies as promotion, organisation, but also live during the event. So we've got our Google Docs show notes, we've got our Hangout technology, we use Twitter, Google+, and also Today's Meet for promotion, but also Today's Meet is probably the one we more commonly use with our viewers. They're all stored, again, as an artifact on our YouTube channel, so we take turns to co-host, which is why the Wikispaces site is probably better than following an individual YouTube account. Again, we've been told we can manage this better, but we're just doing, and then we'll work it out later, which is kind of what we've done. And then again, with creating a live Hangout event in Google, it creates an event notice. Hands up if you're part of our Google Plus community or you get the spam from us, or you get invited. Okay, so, sorry? Yay, that's excellent. We just prepared that earlier. So on Google Plus, if you put in ACCE Learning Network, you'll see that there's a community that you can join. We always send out a notification and invite for you to come and watch our shows if you're part of that group. And so anywhere from when our Hangout finishes on a Monday night up until maybe 3 hours beforehand, depending on whether we've had to juggle guests and renegotiate shows all week, which can happen, you will get an event notification which will give you the link, and you can say, yes, I want to watch that. If you're keen to participate and be part of our inner circle, it's not as selective as it might sound. We do invite many people to come and join us, even if you've never used a Hangout before. In saying that, if you have been part of our Hangouts and that comment I made just offended you, I'm sorry, you're awesome, and you are special to me and select to me.
It might be worth mentioning, from the timing, just my friend in Perth reminds me of something. We've often been asked why we run the show on the Monday night, and that was actually a very deliberate choice. Does that sound convincing?
Yeah.
Good.
Sure.
The reason behind it is that Australasia spans 6 hours on the time scales, on the different time zones in the world. And if you're running a show at around 9 o'clock, I think it's Eastern Pacific time, East Australian time, then it means that we can still bring on Perth on board, they're sort of eating their dinner while they're listening to the show, and we can still bring New Zealand on board. Now, it does bring the Goths out in New Zealand because it's around about 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock midnight. And we do get some New Zealand people. They're often very dark and dim in their bedrooms looking at us over the screens.
That's not true. They're still awesome.
We've actually placed over most of the Pacific night, which is just tough bickies on Easter Island and Hawaii. And then America's coming up into the sunlight. and we've got New York just having their breakfast, and we've got the British having their morning tea. It's actually important because if we're genuine about being an international show, we've got to think about these time scales. And it's easy for us to forget that when I invite someone and to make them realise that they're going to have to climb out of their bed and sit in their pyjamas at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Pyjamas and makeup, because it's video.
Sure. As a concession for some of our US friends that resent appearing on the show in their pyjamas, we do occasionally run an 8:30 Saturday morning breakfast hangout. It's a little bit easier for us because our kids are sleeping in, and we can jump in and record them. And for them, they can actually sit with sunlight streaming in their windows. But it does put our UK friends in their pyjamas. But
yeah.
Important considerations. The challenges of running an international hangout.
Yeah. So we've got some screenshots of the way it kind of looks. So this on the left is an embedded Hangout recording, a snapshot taken from our Wikispaces page, and on the right is just a snapshot of the types of conversations that we have within the Today's Meet. So this is actually from 2013, and you'll see we're already promoting this conference through our Hangouts at that point in time. So for people watching, you might have 1 or 2 technologies open, you might be tweeting us as well. And this is just a snapshot of our Wikispaces page. It's not particularly glamorous yet. In fact, it's slightly more glamorous than that because we made a logo. So
yeah. So remember, it's just a place for us to park the actual YouTube video links and to put some of the stories and the back things. It's a lot of work, and they've got great dreams about doing something with curated content that we have.
If you want to volunteer your time, come see us later.
A library manager, we could add that to the list of 5. Yeah.
And this is just showing, putting the HTML code. We used to have to do this just as we created the Hangout, but now with the different ways that Google Plus has organised their Hangouts, we can actually do this as soon as we create the event, and the video streams within that page as well. So we can do this rather than 5 minutes before we go live, we can do it up to 3 or 4 days beforehand, which is pretty
Just
good.
A quick show of hands. Who's familiar with HTML code? Good. Put your hands down if you're scared by it. Good. There's about 1, 2, 3, 4 people we can see about helping us manage this then. Wonderful. Thank you.
You just copy and paste it. Yeah. And this is what it looks like within the Hangout. So this is just an example. This is, again, an older screenshot. We should have updated this.
I should, but in another way, this stuff disappears because it's interactive, and we will actually start up a Hangout to show you. Because a lot of it kind of disappears now, which is, one way it's kind of good, but another way it's kind of scary because Google would pull these surprises on us. We'd get set up for a broadcast, we'd go to run it, and good God, the lower third's disappeared, or the toolbox has disappeared, or what's this cameraman control? And we'd have to sort of quickly run ahead before the guests got on board to explain to them that the controls had actually changed.
We're responsive learners
to
updates.
We're very flexible.
Absolutely. And you'll see on the right here is actually a chat that is within the Hangout. Now, this isn't broadcast, so this is just within those that are on the panel. Sometimes it can get off task, and that would never be led by Jason, our president, being off task and humorous.
Jason's very good at keeping us on.
But we also use it as another organisational tool, so most people, unless they're joining on an iPad or other tablet phone kind of device, would be able to see the chat as well, and so we can queue up the next speakers. So if people are putting in a couple of reflections there, we can say, hey, want to ask that as a question, or this person can go next. Seriously, Roland's just talking, quick, someone interrupt him, that kind of stuff.
Very important. Stand by, Jason's got a good question. Yep. Ready, Andrew Williamson, stand by, go Jason.
But usually we throw the tricky academic questions to Jason on the fly, and he's like, thanks, guys.
So who actually is the actual broadcast crew? Often they're people that have actually hung around, and they haven't deleted the link, and they keep coming back. But they are regular supporters of what we're doing. They're past participants of what we've got going, and also amongst the listeners at short notice, we've invited people back in. We can see from the back channel conversation they've got something really important to contribute, and we can invite them in. It does mean that one of us drops off the air briefly, has a talk with them, engages with them, seeing what they can contribute, and then we can go through and actually bring them online. There is a bit of risk at that because we haven't had a chance to necessarily vet what they've done. I think there's only ever once we had someone who just drifted into the Hangout and just drifted out again until I worked out the security settings, which is rather creepy. Only because we're trying to control the show and keep it on track, and this kind of happens.
But there's also been improvements in Google's functionality as well. So there's a cameraman option where you can actually hide people from a Hangout or mute them or eject them. And there was that fun time where this new functionality appeared. We gave Chris Betcher controls, and he ejected both of us from the Hangout 5 minutes before we had to go live. So we had to move everyone to somewhere else. We let Chris back in, but we gave him a warning.
We didn't realise that the ejection was permanent and until the session was closed, and he'd have to run the entire Hangout by himself. He just wanted to know what the buttons did.
Yeah.
Now, this is just a screenshot of what my desktop looks like. And it's using the new interface here, so you can see a lot of things have just disappeared there. We're doing a screen share. Someone's actually showing what's on her iPad with some really creative artwork that she was doing. And there's a conversation that's running on the right-hand side, and you can see that we're talking here with Amanda here, queuing up the next conversation, explaining what's happening, and giving some feedback to the person who's talking that it's actually working. On the left-hand side, you can see the show notes. We use colours. They're not coming up so well on the screen there, but we've got them queued here on orange and blue and green, and they give a chance to actually give someone the script on what's going to be said. Not everything is scripted.
It's a pretty loose script.
Yeah.
We've got our core intros at the start and our kind of wrap-up at the end, and we invite the people participating in the Hangout or those interested in the theme to actually add questions before the broadcast. It doesn't always happen before the broadcast, but sometimes it evolves over time, and that just gives us a kind of loose framework to work on when we run the show. Although we do often, usually, all the time, go on random tangents and end up talking about how to redefine education, place of technology, all these really fabulous things that come up in conversations between educators.
Yeah. We do actually train the speakers, though, how to talk, how to ask questions, how they're going to work in this medium, and that's no one wants to be made a fool of. We give them encouraging notes like, could you turn the brightness down on your laptop because it's reflecting on your glasses and you've got these giant squares that are coming up on the screen. Good. Good. Could you increase the brightness level in the room because just having your red eyes glowing in the dark there is not something that's conducive to a video hangout? Oh, that's much better. Oh, I'm not sure what piece of underwear or laundry you got hanging on the door there when you raced into the room and tore your clothes off, but if you could just clean up the background a bit, that would be wonderful. What's that?
Everyone is clothed in our Hangouts.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And we've kind of mentioned we like to deviate from our script, so working to slides is a bit interesting for us. But just as we mentioned before, kind of doing this all at once is very full on, but it's kind of a really intense, amazing experience to do it as well. And there's just so many things to juggle to get it happening. And as soon as we press stop broadcast, it's always, okay.
It's not a podcast. Is anyone podcast here? Has anyone made a podcast before? Oh gosh, you guys have got it's so easy. Slice and dice. A live show. I tip my lid to anyone who does a live show. It's just it's a whole different game, and it needs a lot of scaffolding to get up to that point, and in preparation for anything that might go wrong and working through.
But I think we've become less self-conscious about our online presence and just roll with it now.
Great job.
Well, thank you. So do you. Oh.
For the right reasons. We have a limitation with the actual Hangout setup. There is only 10. I believe if you do have a Google Apps for Education account that you can have up to 14. It does start to lag down a little bit when you do increase the number of guests that are operating inside a Hangout. We rotate the panel guests, we involve the audience. We've had up to about 156 listeners on the show. It can vary anywhere from 2 to 20 listening live. The show goes on, even if we were just talking, because what tends to happen is after a show, you'll start to get people who are making retweets and references, and then they'll go back and listen to the archive. I think a lot of people just actually play the first 10, 15 minutes, and then they give us a thumbs up, and they say, yeah, that's okay. And that's okay, because we're kind of doing it because it's fun for us, and it's a wonderful chance to speak to some people. I'm encouraged when I see some dialogue and discussion from the forums afterwards, and also when I notice people going back to the archives. And I felt it's been a worthwhile journey for us, and we've managed to raise it.
For some people, when we look at the analytics behind the YouTube videos, which is always fun, we notice that there is a cycle of within the couple of days afterwards, we get a peak of hits of people watching it, but that can vary from anywhere from 3 minutes to 16 minutes to people that watch the whole hour, which is good.
Maybe they're vacuuming their house while they're doing it.
Maybe, who knows? But what really makes our hangout awesome is the fact that it's not limited to the people in the room, in that space at that point in time. We're actually engaging with the community beyond those people that are there. So even this presentation is being broadcast in a hangout at the same time. We're not being particularly interactive with the audience beyond you guys. But I think what's really cool is the fact that we've got those methods for people to contribute back and to share as well, and it's really become quite a community over time.
And that's, in a way, what we set out to achieve with the unconference, was to help build a community. What we didn't think was that we would stop at just that one event. And I think Tony Brandenburg, by suggesting that we give it the ACCELN hashtag, gave an identity that reflects what this group's about. It's only as good as the people that you kind of bring in and the contributions that they make. And I think it has a relevance when we can engage in the questions and the issues that are important to the people that are kind of listening in. We can only amplify it and help share that message. But you guys are what the secret makes of a great show.
Yeah, so we've got, I think we've said this before, about a couple of different back channels. Usually we use Today's Meet and Twitter within that context. In fact, if you wanted to go on whatever device you've got now to todaysmeet.com/ACCELN and add a few comments, that would be good, because we might do a bit of a live demo kind of situation very soon.
That'd be lovely. So, over the past 3 seasons, we've talked about, actually 4 seasons now, student learning, student-driven projects, building a community of practice, sharing online spaces to learn ICT, national curriculum perspectives, implementing ICT initiatives, sustainable change, and more. We even had a musical show. We sort of whipped out our musical instruments. I had a chance to play my recordings of my father's accordion.
Sometimes we sing, occasionally we dance. No.
And you sing very well.
But we also, if there's a new and emerging tech, we might have people come along and talk about that. So we had Jonathan Nauder come along and share about wearable tech and different devices that you can wear. We've had Chris Betcher give us a tour of Google Classroom within a few days of it actually being released and things like that. And for us, it's been a fabulous time for our own professional learning, and we're just honoured to be able to share that with so many other people along the way.
This was exciting. By being able to screen share and then using the collaboration tools within that screen share, we had a chance to experience what it was like to be a part of a Google Classroom. And you can see here a screen. This was what was being broadcast. Chris had set up a classroom for us. We enrolled as students. And then we were using the documentation within the tools inside that to actually collaborate and to share and to contribute and building up things. We can be a little bit cheeky here.
Never.
But it also means that we can start to do the things that we would like to perhaps see happening in the classroom. And for the first time, I've seen a few videos and things, I had a handle on how these kind of tools could be used inside my classroom to make my classrooms a better place to teach and learn in.
So essentially what has evolved from that very first tweet is we have expanded, I would say, not just created, our own professional learning network, and we've become more connected to a national community of educators. In fact, global, because we've had people from all around the world join us. And it's a time I actually look forward to, even though it is a lot of work, just to take that time to connect with people I care about, to talk about things I really care about as well. And the fact that it is enriching for others is just a bonus. It's all about me. No, you too. Yeah.
Yeah. So, nice infographic. This is from Joyce. Yeah, and it maps out what a personal network is. Sorry. Hands up those who are using Twitter to track what's happening at this conference, and wonderful. So you know the idea about a PLN where you can gradually grow and connect, looking for kindred spirits who might have the same interests that you have, interpersonal connections, knowledge, humour. There are various tools that you may be using, artifacts, and what we've done in a sense is be able to build a PLN around the actual ACCE community.
And just some reflections, and this is something that really sparked our thinking during the leadership forum yesterday, in terms of how this type of process can be used to support professional learning. What we've really built is more of that sense of a community. So it's not about having a regular hangout, it's about the people. It's an opportunity for us to share practice, to engage in those discussions about things that we're doing right now in the classroom, how do they link to the real world, to talk about theory, but also to make those links with practice as well. So we have a range of different people, from practitioners, academics, technical people, and all kinds of people joining us for that conversation. For people, I guess for us it is a significant commitment that is less flexible, but for people wanting to participate on the panel or to wanting to watch our shows or just engage with us, it's really flexible, so it's not something they have to commit to X number of weeks of learning to engage in. They can come back and view it later, they can just watch for a few minutes here and there, or they can immerse themselves fully in it. And I'd like to acknowledge how much Jason has given of his time to be involved with us and to help anchor us during our presentation.
Thanks, mate.
It's also an opportunity to access a range of experts, and some things have just kind of evolved serendipitously in terms of we might send out a tweet or ask a question, and then we're connected with an expert and we're just like, hey, want to come hang out with us? We run these shows, and Roland sends out, I don't know, thousands of emails to people all the time about, hey, you sound awesome, want to join us for a chat? And it's just been really great in terms of accessing a variety of different experts. And when we say experts, we include teachers as experts talking about their practice as well. It's also created for us a range of artifacts. So each video is an artifact of sorts. Even the conversations that we have on social media as well can become artifacts for that whole discussion. And so it's kind of keeping a record of the things that we've discussed over time. And I think from a professional association's perspective, or even teacher groups or systems, it's also creating more of a visible presence. So for us, operating under the ACCE banner has just been really great, and we've received such amazing support from all of the professional associations across Australia as well. We've even had some people from ISTE be involved.
Yes,
so
that's exciting.
Cool. And I would like to formally acknowledge Marg Lloyd and Janet Cochran, who some of these reflections are based on their paper about professional learning and Celtic knots from 2006, I believe it was published, and it was just looking at what makes awesome professional learning.
And there were some great things we picked up from the leadership forum on day 0 for this conference, and we've been able to weave this in, and it makes me feel more confident that we're on the right track in terms of quality professional learning, and one that kind of meets the needs of where we're heading and where we're going.
Yeah.
So there's some ways that we can actually extend this, and I want to open this up to perhaps some of your ideas. It's been us talking, and you probably checked your email, but I'd like a chance to have some feedback from you guys as to ways that we could scope this forward. I suppose we could all hand out everyone Google Glasses and we could look at wearable technology, but I am looking at some of the different ways that we could actually engage with this technology. Is it enough just to sit comfortably in the video format? I've had some people who say, could we move this towards making this as a podcast and strip out the video and just have the audio? That could work. I just need
anyone wanting to volunteer to be a podcast editor?
Love to. Yeah. We've got 100 hours of footage there we can sort of go back and work through. But there is some merit in doing that. I just need a hand at actually doing that legwork. we've had a lot of fun with actually having students, and that's been a big exploration with us. We've had students actually show us some of the creations that they've made in Minecraft. We've had the students that you meet here at the conference who've been able to actually run, and they can really hold their own in this environment. Comfortable being able to run with the VR conferencing and conversations. You do need the bandwidth and the connections to do some of this stuff, but I'm really encouraged by that. I know at my school, I was excited about this technology, and we're looking at setting up a small TV studio. Students can actually then practice some of those curation skills about presenting to an audience the work that they've done, or an idea that they might have, and making a broadcast. So I think there's plenty of scope towards having the students having more of a creative angle of this, and I'd love to have some discussions if anyone would like to sort of run a pilot or trial or something like that.
Since we've only got a couple of minutes left,
if you've got your
yeah.
QR code.
So what we might actually do, oops, sorry, too many shortcuts on my computer. So I've actually just been broadcasting live, and we have a guest in there at the moment. I won't hang up. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen, and it should go back to webcam. So you'll see, here's Roland and I.
Hello.
This is just running through the webcam on my computer, and down here we have the lovely Jason Zagami. So if Jason was to start talking, he would actually appear nice and big on the screen because it automatically takes over audio-based Mattis person. It may sound odd because of mics, but did you want to quickly say hello?
Hi, Roland and Amanda. You need to start wrapping it up very soon.
Yes, sir. Okay. So down the side here, we have a range of different Google Hangout tools. If we shared this link here with you or invited you using this option here, what would actually happen would be you could actually use that link to join in, log in with a Google account as well. And we missed our notifications. So I'm just going to write in here, wrapping up now. And I can't spell.
Okay, it's your chance to smile because you're on camera. Everybody, big wave.
I would turn this around, but I think it's going to interrupt. So thank you so much for being part of our presentation today, and we look forward to seeing you on our Hangouts. And farewell to those who are actually watching the broadcast. We've got 2 viewers. That's exciting.
Wow.
Thanks.
Mum and Dad.
Yay.
Thanks very much, everybody.